Hello everyone. Today we're going to have a look at North America again. We've looked at a couple of regions, the Great Lakes recently. We've been in Tennessee, here along the Appalachians. We've looked at the Grand Canyon, which we have here. And today we're going to stay on the western side of the US and have a look at this map of Yosemite National Park. Someone sent me this in the mail, but unfortunately I can't thank you by name because it didn't say on the envelope or on an extra card. I do remember that someone mentioned it in the comments, but unfortunately I can't find it anymore. I've tried searching for it, but YouTube says there is no comment, but I know I've seen it. So if you sent this to me, please let me know in the comments so I can say thank you to you, because it's a wonderful map. Really enjoyed it, and it's always a wonderful surprise to find something in the post box. But before we open it up, let's just have a quick look at where we want to go. We are here in California. As you can see here, it says Yosemite NP National Park, close to the border to Nevada. And I've said last time when we talked about the Grand Canyon that it was close to the border, and a couple of you said, and it's actually quite far. I hope it's actually close this time. And we're here along the Sierra Nevada, which is a mountain range, and comes from Spanish. It means snowy mountains. Down here we have the Central Valley of California, and then we get to the coast. One thing I always find quite fascinating is that Death Valley is not too far away, and I can't think of a place more bristling with life than something like Yosemite National Park. So, a bit of a contrast there. But yeah, we are all the way in the west in California today. Yosemite is one of the oldest national parks in the world. I think the third oldest actually, both in the US and worldwide. It became a national park in the 19th century. And small detail, but I really like that these maps from the US all have this similar design. We've seen these with the Great Smokies and the Grand Canyon. So we have a map on this side, and then some pictures and explanations on the other. This is about 3,000 square kilometers. It's quite a large park. You can see here that a small section of it is highlighted. That's the Yosemite Valley Visitor Center and Theater right here. And the Yosemite Valley is the place that most visitors want to go to. There are the famous peaks of El Capitan and Half Dome. El Capitan is quite famous here in Austria as well. I think most people have heard of it. I know a couple of people who like to go climbing, and of course they know El Capitan. At least one of my friends dreams of going to the US to go climbing here. So unsurprisingly, this is the area most people are drawn to. And so we have a highlight right here. El Capitan is 7,569 feet, or 2,307 meters tall. And Half Dome is actually a bit taller, almost 9,000 feet or 2,700 meters. It says here that you need a permit to summit Half Dome. In fact, for a lot of places, or if you want to stay a bit longer, you need a permit because it's a protected area. And we have a portal road coming in here along the Merced River. There's the South Side Drive one way, trailhead for a 4-mile trail. So you can stop here by Swinging Bridge and then take a trail. This looks quite steep here. Up the mountains to Moran Point. There's Glacier Point. Here we have Staircase Falls. We can continue in this direction to Sentinel Dome, 2,500 meters, or 8,000 feet, or Roosevelt Point, Taft Point. And there's the Glacier Point Road, closed approximately November to May. So you can go hiking here, but then maybe, let's say we've come up here. Can we turn back somewhere? No, we'll have to go back this area. Back to trailhead for 4-mile trail. Let's get back on the road here. Continue, there's the chapel, Sentinel Bridge. There's a housekeeping camp, a Yosemite Conservation Heritage Center. Here's some parking, the Curry Village, and trailhead. The Happy Isles Art and Nature Center. It sounds lovely. Then we go around the Upper Pines. There's the North Pines and Lower Pines. And these roads are open only to pedestrians, bicycles, and vehicles with wheelchair emblem placards. I think you pronounce this. And then we can turn back. Let's see. There's a wilderness center and a medical clinic. And here says the Ahuani, which were the Native Americans who originally lived here. Yosemite was a name from another group of Native Americans given to the people here. Not the nicest names, it means those who kill. So I guess they weren't on good standing with one another. But there's a settlement, I guess, here that's been rebuilt. I assume that that's where this is. Here's a village store and grill, a US court, museums, and a little village. Here's Camp 4. I think this is where a lot of the climbers hang out. And then we're on the road back past El Capitan on the north side drive along the river. We have plenty of waterfalls and lakes. Vernal Fall, Nevada Fall. Here's a trail named after John Muir, who was one of the very influential people in protecting this area. And if we open this up, we can see just how many rivers and creeks there are. Notably, though, there are two rivers. For one, the Merced River and the Tuolumne River, a little further north, with the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir. And you can see here it says that's the Grand Canyon of the Tuolumne River. Another canyon here, sort of in between the many peaks and domes of the area. So, all in all, I think this is quite an elevated area. The mountains aren't small, with like almost 4,000 meters. I think that's quite high. And during cold periods in Earth's history, there were a lot of glaciers here that formed the areas and formed, for example, the canyons. What is interesting about this place is that these peaks are granite, which has some very particular features. We'll see that on the other side. Let's just have a look at what the suggestions are. And what we can learn about it. So for one, you can see that really the overwhelming majority of the park is designated wilderness area. meaning there's additional protection here along the river and on the southwestern side with this little peak here, which is the Yosemite Valley. So these are the exceptions where you don't have a wilderness area. And that's also the place that most people visit, so it makes sense. To the north you have the Emigrant Wilderness and Hoover Wilderness, and to the south the Ansel Adams Wilderness. It says here, Congress has designated over 3 million acres of the Sierra Nevada for protection in the National Wilderness Preservation System. This includes 95% of Yosemite National Park, the Emigrant Wilderness in Stanislaus National Forest, the Hoover Wilderness in Humboldt-Toyabe and Inyo National Forests, and the Ansel Adams Wilderness in Sierra and Inyo National Forests. Wilderness is meant to protect forever the land's natural conditions, opportunities for solitude and primitive recreation, and scientific, educational, and historical values. I actually once had a cat that was called Stanislaus. I find that a really cute name. I don't know why this area is called Stanislaus National Forest. The internet didn't tell me who this Stanislaus was. Alright, then we have some information here on the rivers and waterfalls. They're beautiful but treacherous, especially in early spring and summer when water is high. So you have to be careful. This is bear country, and it says keep bears wild by keeping your food from them day and night. Apparently in Yosemite it was a bit of a problem that bears would go through the waste that was left behind and look for food. So today they are very strict about how you have to store your food when you're in the park. And you can tell that they're serious about it. It says approaching wildlife or allowing them to get to your food may result in a fine of up to $5,000. So it's best to keep away from the wildlife. This part, though, I find quite interesting. There are also mountain lions there. And in other cases, it's best to stay away, but if you see a mountain lion, do not run or crouch down. Instead, shout, wave, and throw stones. You should also pick up children so that they look larger. And if an attack occurs, while they are rare, they can occur, then it's best to fight back. So that sounds a little dangerous. There's also part on smoke and fire. So for me, I would assume seeing fire in a park is a sign of danger, and it's best to alert the authorities so that it can be put out. But it says here, smoke and fire, like wind and waterfalls, are parts of the park's natural environment. Mornings can be smoky and unhealthy when fires are burning in the area. Ask about and avoid fire areas if you have asthma or other sensitivities to smoke. So it doesn't say anything here that fires have to be put out under all conditions. In fact, that's what they tried to do initially when they began protecting this area, until they realized that some of the plants in the park actually need the fires. That goes for the huge trees in the area. The giant sequoias need fire so they can reproduce. And for smaller plants, they also have benefits. The Pacific dogwoods need the filtered sunlight that can reach into a sequoia grove if periodic fire keeps its understory open. So, this can also be a good thing. And I particularly like the snow plant here that they included. It says it gets water and nutrients from fungi which are connected to tree roots. And it almost looks like hot glass with this dark red color. Super bright. What a strange plant. There's some information here on these giant sequoias. They dwarf even the largest pine and fir trees that live among them. They are descendants of an ancient line of trees and can live for over 2,000 years. The trunks can reach over 25 feet thick. They've become quite a symbol for the park. The rangers, for example, wear uniform belts and headbands embossed with images of the cones and foliage of these significant trees. And here they explain that in the 19th century, in the years following the protection of the Yosemite Valley, they began protecting the trees from fires. While our intentions were good, we were contributing to the loss of what we cared about so much. Through research and experimentation, we discovered that fire actually promotes reproduction of these giant trees. It clears away the competing firs and cedars and exposes bare mineral soil for the tiny seeds to take root. I have to say, I really like the way these texts are written. I think they really found a nice tone. It's informational, but also quite moving in a way. Then here we have the different peaks. There's Lambert Dome and Cathedral Peak and a view of the High Sierra. There's smooth granite domes, craggy peaks and spacious meadows embody the character of the High Sierra. Hundreds of miles of hiking trails offer adventure, solitude, and inspiration for those wishing to explore this glacially carved landscape and experience ever-changing mountain ecosystems. glaciers sculpted this landscape, plucking, scraping, and polishing as they move down canyons. Their power-shaped lumber dome, this one here, a roche moutonnée, French for sheep rock, and Cathedral Peak's knobby top, known as a nunatak, stood above the glaciers, escaping their force. As the climate warmed, the glaciers melted, leaving huge erratic boulders stranded and sometimes precariously perched, like this one here at Olmsted Point. There are glaciers today as well. You can see the peaks being snow-covered here in the back, though I don't know if these are actual glaciers. The ones that exist today are a bit newer, so they are not left over from the last ice age. Some of the animals that you can find high up in the mountains are these pikas, for example. Sorry, this is a yellow-bellied marmot. This is the pika, the smaller one. How cute are they? And then here we have these famous cliffs with the waterfalls. And the climber here on El Capitan. Over here you can see this part is a little lighter. It says a light scar reveals a fresh rockfall, and the dark streaks around it are caused by lichen. So they're growing on the bare rock. And then there's the waterfall shooting across the cliff here. And of course, this is often the case in the mountains. It depends very much on the season. They're stronger when the snow melts in spring. Here says the very existence of great cliffs like Half Dome and El Capitan has inspired questions about how they came to be. American Indians tell of a woman and her husband who argued and fought. The displeased spirits changed them into stone, Half Dome and North Dome, forever to face each other across the valley. How these cliffs were formed has challenged geologists for over 100 years. To think the granite of Yosemite's walls solidified over 5 miles underground. As the overlying rock eroded away, the granites rose to the current exposed level, and nature's dynamic forces continue sculpting this exposed rock. And there's a little spotted bat here on the side. Look at those big ears. There's one of the bears, a black bear, a mule deer, black oak, acorns, and a woodpecker peeking around the corner. Yosemite Valley to me is always a sunrise, a glitter of green and golden wonder in a vast edifice of stone and space. You really have this huge area. There's a place called Matterhorn, after the mountain in Switzerland. And I guess that's a fair name considering how impressive this area is as well. You can see here there's a backpackers camp where again you need a permit to stay. Another visitor center here, and there's the Lambert Dome that was mentioned on the other side. And plenty of high peaks. Mount Dana at almost 4,000 meters or 13,000 feet. So here we have the park. This down is Stanislaus National Forest. And the road to Mariposa. And then 195 miles or 314 kilometers to San Francisco. Over here I have Fresno, 313 miles or 500 kilometers to Los Angeles. So it says that's about a 6-hour drive, and to San Francisco about 4 hours. It does not just suggest, it does urge visitors here to use the free shuttle buses in the areas where they are available, because sometimes you actually have a bit of a traffic jam where people are trying to visit the park, and at times up some of the peaks it also looks like a bit of a traffic jam with climbers queuing to move up. So here's a national forest, another park, the Death Valley National Park, a giant sequoia national monument. So an area where plenty of spaces are protected. One that sounds very, very beautiful. can let me know if it was you who sent this wonderful map. I loved having a look at it. And I think out of the US maps that we've seen so far, the texts in this one were my favorite. A little poetic, which fits really well with the place. So I hope you enjoyed this little exploration. You're tired now and off to sleep. I will see you again next week.